Hello and welcome back to my channel. As always, my name is Anna, and today we are going to be picking up where we left off last time in the Scott Peterson versus Chris Watts. So let's go ahead and dive into part 2 and go over Chris Watts. Now, before I continue, I want to let you know this won't be a deep dive into the case, simply just letting you know the similarities versus the differences between the two. People are defining me by one moment in my life. They don't know what happened before or what could have happened later. This is a quote Chris Watts gave in an interview after he murdered his family. Well, this one moment would change him from a husband and a father to a murderer. On August 13th, 2018, the last time Shanann Watts was seen alive by anyone other than Chris was by her friend and co-worker Nicole Atkinson when she dropped off Shanann at her house at about 2 a.m. after a business trip to Arizona. That morning, after not hearing from Shanann, Nicole and her son drove to Shanann's home to check on her after she found out that she missed her OB appointment that morning. Nicole would say it was unlike Shanann to miss an OB appointment, especially since she had lupus and had been having trouble during their business trip. And the appointment was to check on her son Nico's heartbeat. When Nicole got to her house and Shanann nor the girls responded to the door, and after Nicole saw Shanann's car there, she grew worried and called Chris. Chris was at work and simply told Nicole that Shanann had told him that morning that she and the girls were going to a friend's house for a playdate. Nicole, not buying the story, would call police since, as she told Chris, the car seats were still in the car. Officer Coonrod responded to the wellness check and, just like Nicole, looked around the house but could not really go into the home. The officer would call Chris to see if he could get the code to the garage door opener, so they may enter the home that way. Chris would tell him that he was almost home and that the garage door opener didn't actually work. About 20 minutes after that call, Chris arrived. By this time, Nicole was already on the phone with Shanann's parents, who lived out of state, to see if they knew the code. Chris, police, Nicole, and her son all entered the home and started looking around. Chris would show officers Shanann's wedding ring, but when asked by police, he told them that there was no note that was left with it. Officer Coonrod noted that the bed was stripped of the sheets, and Nicole and her son found Shanann's purse and phone. So at this point, it looks like Shanann just disappeared, since everything she would need for a day out, especially with 2 toddlers, was at the house. Chris and Officer Coonrod ended up going to the neighbor's house, Nathan Trinistich, after Nathan told police that he had security cameras that run 24 hours and point toward the area of the Watts home if they would like to review it to see if maybe they had caught something. As shown on police body cam footage, Chris appears to be very, very nervous while reviewing the video that shows Chris pulling his work truck into the garage and loading it up. As the video plays, Chris explains everything that he's doing as he's swinging back and forth and his arms being crossed over his head. After reviewing the security footage, Chris starts to head out of the house, and Nathan takes that opportunity to tell police, and I quote, "He's not acting right," end quote.
No.
Just like Scott Peterson, Chris Watts also had a mistress, Nicole Kessinger. Nicole Kessinger is a 30-year-old woman whom Chris meets at his job at Annuh Petroleum. She meets Chris after he goes to her office and strikes up conversations. They would begin their relationship in July after Shanann and the girls would go on a 5-week vacation to see her family in North Carolina. During this time, Chris would start his relationship with Nicole. According to what Nicole would tell police later, Chris initially told Nicole he was in the final stages of a divorce so that their relationship could begin. After Shanann left, he told Nicole his divorce was finalized. While Shanann was away, Nicole would visit Chris's home multiple times in July. First on the 4th of July, and then they would go on their first date 10 days later on July 14th. They would spend nights together, and finally on July 30th, before going to meet with his family in North Carolina, he gives her a love note. I know that not every marriage is perfect. I think we can all agree on that. And the Watts marriage, it was no different. There was trouble in the marriage. See, Shanann and Chris's parents weren't on the best terms. But while in North Carolina, she still took the girls to see them. And I guess while they were there was an incident involving one of the girls being given something that they weren't supposed to have for allergy concern reasons. Shanann would get frustrated and tell Chris about the situation, but all Chris would really say is, "Oh, I'll talk to them about it," not really showing any concern because he was with Nicole this entire time. Also, like Peterson, Chris would initially deny any involvement in the murder of his family. From the moment he met with police on August 13th of 2018 until he finally had to come clean. Chris would deny ever being involved, and he would do news interviews as well, pleading for their safe return. See, Shanann and the girls were reported missing as of August 13th of 2018, and the next day, Chris would get on news reports asking for their safe return, and while police searched the home with canines, he would get very noticeably nervous whenever one of the canines started barking. He would tell news reporters, "This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring them back." Chris would later conduct an interview with police on August 15th of 2018, and in this interview, he would stick to the same story that Shanann had told him that they were going on a playdate. Chris would have to conduct a polygraph test, which he failed miserably. Afterward, he would be interrogated until he finally gave in after detectives gave him scenarios as to what may have happened, which is a very common practice. Detectives asked Chris if maybe Shanann had something to do with it, and that is when Chris ran with that narrative and asked to speak with his father. He would ultimately confess to his father, Ronnie Watts. He would explain that he saw on the baby cam that Shanann was smothering the girls and had killed them, and then out of rage, he had killed her. He told police where the bodies were and was arrested the same day that the bodies were discovered, on August 16th of 2018. It wouldn't be until an interview in 2019, after his conviction, where he would tell the quote-unquote truth. Because this is Chris Watts, I'm not 100% sure that this is the whole truth, but he would say that he killed Shanann by choking her. He would say that he didn't really know what to do afterward, and that Bella had came into the room and asked, "Is mommy okay?" And Chris would tell her that he had to take her to the hospital. So he took the body, wrapped it up in bed sheets, and loaded her and the girls into the truck. It would be a 45-minute car ride to the oil site where the bodies were ultimately dumped. He says Shanann was the first to be buried, and that he made a shallow grave and put her body in face down. He stated that he hated her so much that he would not even turn her body over. After burying her, he went back to his truck, took the blanket that was Cece's, and smothered her to death. With Bella watching, he would then take Cece, climb to the top of an oil tank, open it. The opening was about 8 inches. The average circumference of a toddler's head is 16 inches. He shoved her little body into the oil tank, climbed down, and went back to his truck. He proceeded to do the same to Bella. He said Bella's last words were, "Are you going to do the same to me that you did to Cece?" He can't remember if he gave her a response. All that he remembers is smothering her, with Bella screaming, "Daddy, no." He didn't even put her in the same oil tank as Cece. He had to put her in a separate one. So back to his arrest. After the bodies were discovered, he was arrested, and prosecutors wanted to seek the death penalty. However, after discussions with Shanann's family, a plea deal was offered. Chris decided to take the plea deal. He was charged with and pleaded guilty to 9 felony counts, those being 3 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of first-degree murder of a person younger than 12 while being in a position of trust, 1 count of unlawful termination of pregnancy, and 3 counts of tampering with the deceased human body. He was sentenced on November 19th of 2018. At his sentencing, Shanann's family, along with his own parents, were able to make victim statements.
Had all their lives to live, they were taken by a heartless one. This is the heartless one, the evil monster, who dare you take the lives of my daughters Shannon, Bella, Celeste, and Nico.
Going through a lot of different emotions because I did not see this coming. You went from being my brother, my sister's protector, one of the most loved people in my family, to someone I will spend the rest of my life trying to understand. What gave you the right to put your hands on a woman, let alone my best friend, my beloved sister, your daughters, and your son? Why weren't they enough for you?
I didn't want death for you because that's not my right. Your life is between you and God now, and I pray that He has mercy for you.
Chris Watts was sentenced to 3 life terms in prison with no possibility of parole.
Deputies, I would respectfully ask that you take this defendant into custody and have him serve the rest of his life in the Department of Corrections. We are in recess.
So in conclusion, Chris Watts or Scott Peterson, which one is the lesser of 2 evils? Or which one is evil in general? In my opinion, Chris Watts is the real devil. Chris Watts is a murderer. Scott Peterson, there is reasonable doubt there. So in my opinion, Chris Watts is worse than Scott Peterson. So go ahead and let me know your opinion on both cases down in the comment section below. Feel free to subscribe, like the video, and have a wonderful day. Bye.
Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal.